Change is inevitable, and it's also something we have to face whether we want to or not. Behold, if you will, the 2024 Kona from Hyundai. Now, you may remember our friend the Kona as a strange little box that was very, very popular and very fun to drive. Well, it's undergone a transformation, if you will. It has been reborn into something incredibly interesting. This particular version looks electric, is it? Actually, no. But it certainly is futuristic in its appearance. But more than anything else, it is a modern version of an old friend. Come with me and let us examine the 2024 Kona together. Ever notice how more and more vehicles seem to appear to be a robot, like Gort in The Day the Earth Stood Still? Look, you got your visor right here. You got your very mechanical, almost automaton type aspect. But this is a whole new direction for the Hyundai Kona. But this is the 2024 version that has changed from stem to stern. 104.7-inch wheelbase. The availability of all-wheel drive like we have here in our limited model, and a whole new way of looking and doing things. It's also available with a fully electric version, and this version here, which has a very peppy little 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, has quite a bit of power to it. But check out the styling on this thing. They have completely changed what was a box into more of a sleek box. A vehicle that is going to catch eye. The thing that amazed me about this is when they decided to take a shape that was so familiar to people, because the Kona's been around a while and it's been very, very popular and very distinctive, and they decided to redesign it. They were taking some chances, because you don't want to look so much like the other guys that you can't spot a Kona in a pack of small SUVs. But at the same time, they wanted to be very modern and very contemporary and not box-like, obviously. So look at what they've done. This is really something. You really can't appreciate it till you see it in person. But it is still a very striking vehicle, but it couldn't be further apart from the original Kona as far as how it looks. It's also, all these things that went into the styling of it, they also did a lot to the chassis and to the engineering to make it a much better, a more refined, if you will, SUV compared with the old Kona. And personally, I really liked the old Kona. I especially liked the electric version. I thought it was a lot of fun. And you can get a fully electric version of this, but before you do that, I think you should drive this version too with the gasoline power plant, because this little turbocharged engine and 8-speed transmission is a really sound little drivetrain for this car. And I can't wait to take you on a ride in it, because it's actually a really, really interesting, it's a departure for the Kona family. But again, I don't think people are going to be disappointed once they get their hands on one and drive it. So with no further ado, let's take a look under the hood and see that new beautiful 1.6 liter turbocharged engine. Well, how about that? It looks like Hyundai has decided to create the Smart Stream G turbo gas direct injection engine for your Kona pleasure. Now this is a real interesting little situation we have here with this particular power plant, because it has so many things about it I really like. And one of the biggest is it has space around it. Look at there. It sits right in there. It's nestled into the front, just over the front wheels, and you have quite a bit of room around it. So I can actually show you how everything goes together here. sort of, as best I can. But this is our 4-cylinder, transversely mounted. Where are them cylinders? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're right underneath here. Here's your spark plug things. Is that a spark? Well, actually, no, that's a vacuum hose. Where are the spark plugs? Excuse me. They're back here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There they are. Now, this turbocharged engine in what is a pretty standard practice with a lot of transverse mounted 4-cylinder turbocharged engines has the turbocharger in the back with the exhaust manifold on this side. And in the front, we have the injection side or the intake side for your fuel. Now, we start here with our air box. The air goes all the way back in here into our turbocharger array. And you got your spinning impeller devices right back here. One of which comes off the exhaust. That spins through the exhaust flow. And then that spins the impeller, which compresses the air. The air then runs down here and comes all the way down to the bottom. See this thing right there? You can see it right there? Right there. Okay, that's where our air comes down, all the way down here to our, we have to have an intercooler whenever we have a turbocharger, because when you turbocharge, i.e. you compress the incoming air, it heats up. And you don't want that. You want cooler air to come into your engine. So it goes down into the intercooler, which is mounted just below the radiator there. And then the cooler air that's now been gone through that intercooler comes right up here and right up here, into here. You see? See this huge device out here with this plug-in thing right here, and this thing here, and this thing here? Look at all the stuff you got to put on these cars these days. It's amazing. But our cool air charge comes right in here and goes into our intake system, which is a polymer, just like everybody does nowadays. And then that goes in the engine. And you probably can't tell through this video, but there's quite a bit of space in the front here, which is really interesting because it almost looks Honda-esque, because Honda, in a lot of their new cars, they do it the other way around though. They have the turbocharger here and the intake on the back side, but this is the way Hyundai does it. And you have all this space, and space is always good because space allows a lot of heat to dissipate. And it also makes it easier to work on the cars should you have to do that. This 1.6 liter, by the way, uses 0W20 oil, which is very common, which is excellent. Now, the big question you want to know is, so okay, that's all well and good. What about our power situation? Well, 190 horsepower at 6,000 RPM, so that's spinning pretty good. But the torque is what is really impressive, and the torque is 195 pounds of feet at 1,700 RPM. That's really down low, nice basement there, and it goes on up to 4,500 RPM. So you have that nice big torque peak that is what we get from turbocharging a small engine, and it's such a wonderful thing to have because it just improves the response and everything else, and makes a really small engine feel like it's got a lot more power than it does. And the purpose of all that is better gas mileage and lower emissions. So we have that in spades here. And it goes into an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is a dual, by the way. It's really nice. This car weighs about 3,500 pounds too. So think about that, 190 horsepower, 3,500 pounds. You might be able to surmise it's fairly quick, and it is. It's got plenty of oomph. It's a real good, it's a good size engine for a vehicle like this. Now look at this elaborate aluminum structure. Woo! This is all there to stabilize the engines and reduce vibration, which is great. This being a limited version, also you have this nice insulation right here on your aluminum hood, which I believe it is aluminum. I can tell by touching. Yes, 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 that's aluminium. So you got all these little refinements in this limited version that make the car a lot less of a crude thing and more of a luxury upscale thing, even though it's basically an economy car when you look at it. But not anymore. I think that's one of the things that Hyundai's done with this extensive redesign, is they have made it more of a, kind of kicked it upscale just a little bit, so it's a little more of a polished jewel of a car instead of more of a crude. The original Kona wasn't crude. That's not the right word, but it was more, let's say, fundamental, more basic, that sort of thing. And they've done a lot to make this one much quieter, much smoother, much more powerful. All the things you do when you try to improve a car when you do a complete redesign. Now here's our battery and our little, this is a flimsy little koozie here. I don't like this koozie. I like some insulation there just for no reason at all. Then I like battery koozies. But here's our enormous battery. Very easy to get to if you should have to jump the car or jump somebody else's car. And everything else is very easy to get to. I mean, it's very straightforward, which is a real, all in all, that's what you want in your power plant. And one of these days, if we're fortunate, I'll get the electric version of this, because what they did in the past with the Kona, there was also a fully electric version of the Kona, and it used to crack me up, because right where this engine was the electric motor, and it had a little engine cover on it. And everything else. So if you didn't know better, you just open the hood, you'd initially think there was a gas engine there because of just the way it appeared. Because as you know, so many electric cars have a frunk where they have a little, this is all covered up and you have a little storage space in there that you can put stuff. But the Kona was different. It's like they pulled out the engine and put in an electric one. So we'll see what the new one looks like. But like I say, if you're in the market, you really ought to take a look at this gas-powered one too, because it's really nice, and we'll see what kind of fuel economy we get. I think it's going to do pretty good overall. But it does get out of its own way very nicely, very smoothly. And again, this is a real nice drivetrain for this particular vehicle, and it's got all-wheel drive. Yeah, buddy. Greetings, Your Majesty. For this tire is in fact Your Majesty. Well, it's the Majesties you got in your car, because it's a Kumho Majesty tire, which I didn't know they had one called Majesty, but there it is, and it's kind of cool, and we like it. So what do we have in terms of our wheel size? Well, this tire size is 235/45 R19, so these are 19-inch wheels, and as you can see, we have a very cool Hyundai design that's very in keeping with some of the rest of the family of Hyundai vehicles. I love they go all geometric with their wheel designs, but these aluminum alloy wheels are cool, and the brake is pretty substantial and it's very smooth, and I'm very happy with the brakes on this car because they seem perfectly adequate to do the job. And as I stated before, we're 104.7 inches from wheel to wheel, and here's our new rear end. Now, if you'll remember on the old Kona, we were pretty square. Very similar, by the way, to the Kia Soul, because they're in the same family together. All owned by Hyundai, but still Kia gets to go their own way quite a bit. But they really fast-backed the tail end of this car, and yet it still has a decent amount of room in it. I don't really know if I think it probably has more room than the previous Kona, just because it's a bigger car. It has a much wider stance, and or at least it sure seems to. I mean, I have to look things up and see if we have in fact expanded. But this being the Limited, you got your electrics on your gate there. Hello, and we have a pretty roomy area back here. I'll put your figures right down at the bottom of the screen. But we have our 60/40 fold down, as you would expect. The finish is fine. I mean, it's basically plastic, and I don't see any handy dent. Oh yeah, there it is. They hid it up there. They're so clever. There's our light. Do we have one on both sides? No, just one side, but you do have a cargo light there. And the liftover height is very good. It's a little bit lower than most of the SUVs nowadays. About, where's my knee? There it is. There we go. So it's a little higher than knee level. But that's a real nice height, because that's going to be easier for you to lug your your huge suitcases when you're going to jump in an airplane, fly down to Bonaire, and do some diving if you do that. Let's look underneath our storage area here, and There's our sticker. That's the world's largest Monroney. I've never seen it. Wow, let's see. What's our overall fuel economy? 26 miles per gallon at 24 city, 29 highway. And wow, the price is to be determined. Uh-oh, I don't know if I can tell you how much it costs yet. Well, I'll look into that. There's our owner's manual and stuff, which is just stuck back here. It's good to know that I have one to access if necessary. But we do have a temporary spare tire. Yay! So, very roomy back here, and you have your device to conceal all your bullion. You don't want people coming and stealing the bullion out of your car. I mean, come on, man. Just back off. If they don't see it, they don't take it. That's the realm. I love our electrics. Isn't that great? Isn't that beautiful how that works? Pretty much all the SUVs have that now, but I thought it was just pure frippery initially, and now I've gotten so used to it that it's weird if you have to manually actually open a rear gate on a car. But anyway, check out all the funky light work here. We have the lower echelon, which is where your backup lights are, which work quite well, by the way. Then you got this strip O Illumo, and what's the brakes? Are the brake lights here? I think they are. And do these do anything other than just look cool? Hell, I don't know. I'll have to research that. That's what I do. I research things. But anyway, there we go. We have to get in and check the interior out on this thing now, because everything, sometimes when they do a redo, it's not 100% extensive in terms of covering every aspect of the vehicle. In this case, when they redid the Kona, they did everything. It's not, very little of it is going to be initially familiar, and yet a lot of the same features and things that you really like about the old one are in fact present. They're just modernized. So let's take a look. Welcome to, wait a minute, this isn't right. We have to do this properly here because we're in a Hyundai. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna press media, and I'm gonna press that, and then I'm gonna go to sounds of nature, and there we are. Harbingers of spring. We're all about the harbingers. Always have been. So anyway, welcome, if you will. I'll turn this down just a little bit. Yeah, so here's our incredibly digital Kona Limited instrument cluster. Yeah, it kind of puts you to sleep, this music, like everything else about my videos. If you can't get sleep watching my video, you need help, professional help, to get some medication, because, you know. But anyway, here we have our beautiful analog setup that, if you are into that sort of thing, which I am, this is my #1 type of instrument cluster, because it's your tachometer, wee, is on the right-hand side, and then you have your speedometer on the left-hand side. And in the middle, you have this wonderful trip computer array, which you can change. There's your tire pressure. This shows which wheel is doing what, because we have the H-Track Honda is a different manufacturer. This is Hyundai. And this will indicate which one of your, since it has H-Track, which is Hyundai track, will tell you which wheel is doing what, if you're interested in that, because that can be very useful. We're about to get a foot of snow here, so that might become very active very shortly if I'm going to get out of the driveway. Oops, that was a trip. And then we have tire pressure, and then we have our trip meter as set, which is, we've driven at 130 miles and averaging 28.8 miles per gallon, which is very good. It's a very small engine, a 1.6 liter, but it is turbocharged, and it does have a bit of power to it, so that's good. And since refueling, see, now isn't that interesting? So they got fuel 3 miles from here, huh? And it says 28.4 as opposed to 28.8 since I had it. Seems I am the more efficient driver. Here's your current trip, which we're not moving, so 0. And that's that. So that's nice. We'll leave it since refueling. We'll leave it there. Now, do we have some choices here as far as our instrument cluster? Well, we'll have a look. Setup and navigation, vehicle, screen layout, display. What does screen layout do? Oh, that's here. Gauge style. Classic, which is on it, is what we're set on now. Let's go to simple. Oh boy, that is simple. They took out a bunch of stuff. But you still have your tachometer on the right side, speedometer on the left side. Graphic style. Let's go to classic and simple. Graphic style is something else, I guess. There's only two different choices on the instrument cluster. It's probably style A, style B, style C. Sets the style and type of graphics used in the cluster. Well, isn't that something? It doesn't seem to want to do that. Oh, it's linked to the drive mode. Well, let's do that. Hey, great. So this is style A, and we're on the simple side. So let's go back to classic. Style A is that. Style B, ooh, we have nice little attractive green rims around there, and then style C is red. Now I guarantee if you set your drive mode onto sport, that's going to be that. I'm willing to bet. We'll check it in just a second. And this is going to be eco, if there is an eco setting. I believe there is. And then style A would be probably normal. Interesting. So we'll link it to the drive mode right now and put it on classic. So that's that. So anyway, a very nice and actually very easy to manage instrument cluster, which is a lot better than what I recently had with another manufacturer whose name will remain unnamed at this time. That was just, I found it incredibly vexing and confusing to figure it out. But this has been a strength with Hyundai for a while, that this stuff is real easy to master. So on our steering cluster, incidentally, our steering wheel unit, which almost looks futuristic because of this strange little thing there that has 4 buttons on it. Don't know what it does. We have our cruise control array, which is on the left-hand side. And here's when you turn it on and off. And this is your following distance with your adaptive cruise control. And this is whether or not it's doing the lane tracing and steering the car for you. And this right here is what I was using a minute ago to adjust our trip computer right there. And over on the right-hand side, we're more motivated by music and things like that. Here, we can turn this way up here. Oh my God, the birds are all over me. And then we go down a little bit here. By the way, let's why don't we go back to what else do we have? Autumn sentiments. All right, let's try that. Autumn sentiments. Oh, I see. It's completely quiet. Oh, it's very subtle. They see autumn as being a very quiet time. Well, you're not going to hear that when you're driving down the highway, are you? Warmth in winter, it's probably something on fire. Yep, you can hear a fire. Now, if you're sensitive to that, and you are suddenly afraid that the car is on fire, don't use that one. I would still go back. Oh, rainy day is good. Experience the universe. Well, we can do that. I am Blaylock. Welcome aboard. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Or would you prefer Forbidden Planet? My poor Krell. Well, anyway. Monsters from the id. That's good. City at Dawn. Oh, I can hear somebody jogging next to me now. Oh, wow. They're still jogging next to me. I guess I'm jogging. I guess we're jogging along in the city now. Wow, that's wild. On a sailing ship. Good thing we have Captain Buffett at the helm. This is kind of interesting. You can hear the water. Again, you may not want to have this one on when it's raining outside, because you'll be afraid that the back of the car is underwater. Oh, look. Dolphins? Dolphins on the vibes. Very smart dolphins. And finally, my favorite still though, Lively Forest. Listen to them crickets. Yeah, well, anyway, sorry, that's my favorite thing about the Hyundai Kia Genesis line of vehicles, because I just think that's great stuff. I'm not sure why, I just do. So, what else do we have in our instrument cluster? Well, we've done everything there. Windshield wipers are where they should be on this right-hand stalk. Here's our paddle shifters to go along with our transmission. Now, speaking of which, you want to talk about weird. Hyundai saw fit to do something strange, and that's this thing right here. This is how we shift the car into gear. Foot on the brake, and you twist it, and we are now in drive. Or you go back here, neutral, and then reverse right there, and there's your reverse cameras and your 360 camera. But to put it in park, you press this button there, and now we're in park. Why did they do that way? I have no idea. But I guess it does free up this area a little bit down here, but I don't know. They have their reasons for doing stuff. And what surprised me when I initially would start driving the car, I thought I was going to have a little bit of trouble getting used to that, because I thought it was a little odd. And I'm always doing things like Y turns and turning the car around for photography reasons, doing all kinds of stuff quickly. Because, you know, I usually on the middle of an active highway when I turn the car around and shoot stuff. But anyway, you get used to it very, very fast. I was very surprised. It's actually not as counterintuitive as you might think. So anyway, our main screen here is, of course, a landscape format. And it's wonderfully clear. How's our navigation map? Well, it's beautiful. And there's our forecast. Tuesday, 100% chance of, like rain. Well, it's not rain, it's going to be a foot of snow, or so they're saying. But anyway, can we zoom in and out? Now, how do we do that? Do we do it like this? You sure do. You can pinch. You can pinch and expand and do whatever on your map. It's a very clear HD map. I'm not real sure if we do setup and I go to the display. Can I go to a dark display? Brightness is at 20. Ooh, good reason. That's why it's so damn bright. I'm going to take this down a bit. Maybe it will be a lot easier to read, I think. Let's go back. Yeah, it's a little better. I imagine it does change to dark. I drove this car the other night, and I don't remember right offhand. I'm sure it probably does. But anyway, it's a real good, easy to read map, and wonderfully good in that it's a completely autonomous system that is in the car. You don't have to use your phone. CarPlay, Android, any of that. You don't have to mess with it if you don't want to. It can. This car is Android Auto and CarPlay capable, absolutely, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to, which is the way it should be on all vehicles in my view. What else do we have here? You have a conventional volume knob and a conventional tuning knob on your radio. How nice is that? Because you also have the ability right here to go up and down on your favorites. Once you've selected your favorite stations, you can do it there, but it's nice to be able to have a regular tuning thing right there, you see. Now, here we come into the area of beaucoup d'electronics, where we have, there's two different USB, well, here's a USB-C port that has a top and a bottom. Right now it's set for regular USB plus power, but you can turn it on to just power without using the USB side of it, which is kind of interesting in a way. I'm not sure why they did that, but I'm sure it'll come to me long after this video is over. Over here is another USB-C, and here is our QI. And if I take that off, what happens? It goes off, you see. This is a real nice charger for your phone because it's real easy to slap your phone in there, even with a case on it. And it charges fairly quickly, and it stays put. It's easy to take it in and out, and yet it stays put. So that's great. And then we have a 12-volt right in there. Look at there. Woo! Clever. Now, dropping down a little bit, we have more interior comforts. And by the way, I skipped completely over the climate control, which is dumb because it's beautiful. It's very, very straightforward. It's very easy. I'm now on auto, which I should have been before. I don't know when I took that off. but you have all your recirculation and all the standard stuff with the intensity of front and rear defrosters that you just press the button and it'll just blow like crazy and go to town and defrost you, which I'll be using that when the snow hits. Now, where were we? Oh yes, we will now move down to this console here, and this has got all kinds of goodies on it. This is, of course, your heated seat and your ventilated seat, which is great to have on a car in this price point. It's not bad at all. You have a two-setting heated steering wheel, which is great. Auto hold, which is, on this particular car, what does auto hold do? I think it does hold the brake until you release it by either hitting the gas or releasing the brake or whatever. I think that's what that does. I always get confused, but because different manufacturers use the auto hold designation for different things, believe it or not, but trust me when I tell you, they do. Now here is our drive mode selection. So you turn the dial like so, and now we're on sport, and what did I say? It went red. Oh, they have a snow setting, a normal setting, which is this, which is nothing, and then we go to sport, and then we go to snow. So there is no eco setting, which is a little surprising actually. But there you go. You just turn that back and forth. We'll put that on normal for now. And then you press the lock button and you can lock the center differential, so when things get really nasty, like a foot of snow or mud or anything like that, boom, just press that button and you've got both your front and rear drivetrains fully active and locked together so that it will provide the maximum amount of get out of it for your needs when you're stuck in the snow and that sort of thing. Now, here's our cameras, and look at this. Press the button to display the camera view, or press and hold to activate the parking assist system. So that's pretty good. Don't show this again. Oh no, I'll leave that for the next journalist. So there we are. That's that particular system, that particular panel of goodies. So as you can see, this car has got a lot of equipment on it. It's not like it's an entry-level Hyundai, really. It's a smaller car, but it has all the good features that you need. It has everything you need on it, including this very nice sunroof up here, moonroof rather. And when you combine all these things with the sound of nature, you have a very, very comfortable interior. Now, what do we have here? I don't have my, yeah, I do, hang on. Oh, I was looking for this. What is our upholstery? Here's this dash system, which I don't know what that means exactly, but man, that's interesting. As you can see, the surface is quite perforated on this, and that is, of course, whoops, let me get that out of the way. That is, of course, to facilitate your ventilation when you have the ventilation system on. And let's see, advanced safety powertrain to interior, smart cruise control. Yep, we covered that. Highway driving assist. That's what the steering does basically. Surround view monitor. Yep. Comfort and convenience. H-Tex. That's what this is called. All right. Welcome to H-Tex. That is, I guess, Hyundai Tex, but it is instead of being leather, it is a textile, but it is a textile that feels much like leather. And the sides are more of a fabricy thing. But these seats are real nice. They have very generous side bolsters to keep you in place during spirited driving. And all in all, these seats have done great. I have zero complaints about them. The adjustments are good. It's really well thought out, this car. That's what I would describe it as. Extremely well designed. And here we have, whoa, look at the size of that. There is our glove box. It's a little tight if you wanted to put a iPad or some other type of tablet in there. But if you have a smaller tablet, absolutely it'll fit in there. This is something I was dealing with earlier. These cup holders, you push this and you can rotate this around, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how this works. But, you push and you turn and I don't really know what. I guess if you want to put a huge cup in there and then you push that to do that, well, you don't even have to push that. Oh, there it goes. It locks. And to unlock it, oh wow, look at, let's do that on both sides. That's fun. I'm gonna put that in there. Lock. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Gosh, yeah. That may be the neatest cup holder I've seen in quite some time. Well done, Hyundai. I like it. And you could put a huge drink in there if you had to, I guess. Here we have a little tray, and here we have a actually fairly generous center console that is aerated. Now, what do I mean by aerated? Well, you can get to it underneath here, just like that. Like that, or you can open it up and get to it that way. That's an interesting design. It makes no sense, but does this move? Does this move? No, it doesn't. But anyway, boy, I tell you, everything, talk about upgrading from the previous generation of the Kona. They really touched on everything in this car. They did a lot of stuff. And with a lot of stuff in mind, let's take a look at our rear seating area. First of all, what is our beep? It's about 83 degrees that it opens up. Fairly generous opening, I would say, for most individuals. And there's a mild drive shaft tunnel. It's not huge, but it is definitely there. Your leg room and your foot room is good. I have the front seat back a bit, so it's nice. You're sitting fairly upright, but the belt line, as you can tell here, is fairly high. But I don't feel a sense of claustrophobia at all. And somebody's turned off the, I hate when people do that. They do it all the time. There we go. Had to unlock the window. 100% the window goes down. Excellent. That means a lot to me. I don't know if it means anything at all to you, but I like my windows in the back to go all the way down for dog reasons and other things. Here is our, we have, unfortunately, not map lights, but we do have a central LED. It does put out a fair amount of light. You could read by that. Instead of having individual map lights. So that surprises me because this is such a detail-oriented car. How about our armrest? Cup holders in place right there. Oh, that's nice. That's at a very good height, a very jaunty angle. The lower lumbar is pretty good on this car. It feels a little, the rear seat feels a little bit upright, and I'm wondering if I can modify that. I bet I can. Yep, there, I put it back slightly. Yeah, that's better. I prefer that. So you have a little bit of adjustability there. You don't have the ability to fully recline, but if you do, of course, have the ability to totally fold forward and increase your cargo capacity. Now, on this passenger side, the seat is all the way back, and as you can see, there is not a lot of leg room there, or foot room. So if you're sitting behind the passenger, the front seat passenger, you're going to have to thump them in the side of the head and get them to slide forward just a little bit so you'll be comfortable. But if the person doesn't have the seat all the way back, you'll probably be fine. Even for long trips, I think you'd be fairly comfortable back here. We do have two, not one, but two USB-C ports. And pretty much everything you got down back here is exactly what you would expect for a modern 2024 vehicle that has the limited designation in terms of its trim rating, because usually limiteds have pretty much everything you would want and desire. The only thing that surprises me, like I said, is it doesn't have individual map lights here, which is a very minor thing. But otherwise, it's comfortable, and all in all, with the all-wheel drive option. Incidentally, did I say earlier that Konas usually didn't come with all-wheel drive before? Well, they've been coming with all-wheel drive for several years now, so I don't know what made me think that. I keep equating this vehicle with the Kia Soul, which it is a distant relative, a cousin, if you will, because the Soul's actually smaller than this and has a shorter wheelbase. It looks like it has exactly the same powertrain, though. There's two available ones on this one. This is, of course, we got the upper echelon 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, and the other option is a 2 liter. On the base model is a 2 liter inline 4, and I don't believe it's turbocharged. So This is the way you want to go with the engine, because I really think the car does need that larger engine on this. I haven't driven the 2-liter, but I just have a feeling, because it's not the world's lightest car. This weighs about 3,500 pounds, I think. Where is it? Where's my? Hang on, I'm gonna tell you right now. 3,505 pounds. So I'd go for the 1.6 liter, but I have no complaints at all with the interior of this car. I think they did a real nice job with it, and most importantly, it has the sounds of nature. So how big a deal is it when you have an all-new version of something that is very familiar? Look at this front camera. Isn't this great? It knows I'm going slowly, so the 360 camera, the front camera, has turned itself on and is showing me where everything is, and it'll turn itself off when it deems it's time. Boom, just like that. Impressive Kona. So we have the new Kona. It's not same as the old Kona. Man, have they changed a lot of stuff on this car. Pretty much everything. But it's still a compact SUV, and it still has a lot of room in it. I loved the old one's styling. I really, really did. And I'm sad to see it go, to be honest with you. And again, what car was I talking about the other day? Oh, it was the, I was talking about both. The Buick Envista. Oh, and yes, and I just remembered, I was also talking about the Chevrolet Trax, but both of those vehicles have a look to them, styling-wise, that does very much look like an electric car. Because they're closing up the radiator area and styling things around like a vehicle that will not have the same size radiator as a internal combustion engine version would have. And just the whole thing, it just looks like an electric car. Same thing here. And the matter of fact, there is a electric version of the Kona. And then there's an N version, and there's all these different versions. But there's an electric version that I'm sure they just popped the engine, just like they did with the old Kona. I really, as electrics go, I really liked that one, because they literally dropped an electric motor right where the gas engine is, and it looked like a gas engine sitting under the hood instead of an electric motor, but it was an electric motor. Well, this one is your limited version, and it has a very nice 1.6 liter inline 4 that is turbocharged, and also has gas direct injection. Someone asked me the other day, and they said the previous Kona did not have GDI, gas direct injection. I thought it did. I've never gone back to triple check all that. But the fact is, people are concerned about gasoline direct injected engines, that's all they have. If they don't also have port injection, which adds complexity and cost and things like that, but what port injection does for you, it also helps clean up the nasty carbon residue you get from direct gas injection engines, gas direct injection. And so how does Hyundai deal with that problem, potential problem? And it's the kind of problem that shows up later in life. It's not something that's real obvious right off the bat and causing problems, but it can over time, once the miles start to get up, sorry about that, it can start causing you problems. Here we have some construction going on. They're putting in a new telephone pole. How about that? So anyway, what's the answer to that? Do they have a way of making sure that you don't have this carbon build up? I don't know, and I'll look into it if I can, because there are tricks and things that people can do. But the most effective way I've seen so far is all the companies. Toyota's a real leader in this regard as far as I'm concerned. They started putting, especially with the latest generation of hybrid engines and the dynamic force engines, is they have both fuel injection, gasoline direct injection, and port fuel injection. And from time to time, when you use that port fuel injection, it cleans out the intake runners and all the things that the direct injection can carbon up over time. You got all that? I'm sure you do. What's it have to do with this? Look, this car's telling me that there's a curve ahead. How did it know? How do it know? It's pretty amazing. Let's cruise. I'm enough of this driving by foot. Let's cruise. We're now cruising. Now we have adaptive cruise control. Now, do we have a steering component? Yes, we do. Shall I activate it? Why, sure. There we go. We have the green light on the steering wheel, so this means that it can see the lane sufficiently, and it is driving us along based on what it sees. And as near as I can tell, there hasn't been a huge price increase in this car, even though it's much more. The old Kona was a little bit more basic compared with the new Kona, which is very, very nicely equipped. It also has one of my favorite things that Hyundais have, and this is an all-new model, and it has it on this car too, which I'm really glad they didn't get rid of it because it's one of my favorite features. Now, the ride quality is fairly firmish. It's so hard to tell with all the rain and everything else we've had. I've noticed a definite deterioration in a lot of the roads that I normally drive on when I'm evaluating cars, and that really throws you off when you're trying to compare cars to each other when the road is starting to get worse. And we've had so much rain, and it's overall still the trend is to get warmer and warmer and warmer. We're about to have degrees, high temperatures that are a good 15 degrees higher than normal. But it's been that way for the last 3 winters. We still get a blast of cold air from time to time and some real winter weather, but it doesn't seem to stay around as long. And then like I said, we have warmer weather, warmer than we've ever had before for this time of year. So, but all these things have an effect on the pavement that I'm driving on. So and the other factor is there can be quite a bit of difference in ride quality, especially over roads that have minor irregularities, not big potholes and things, but just minor bits and pieces and cracks and things, just things that make the pavement less than billiard table smooth. With all that, you have a tire situation where, depending on what tires the vehicle has, I've noticed a profound difference in the ride quality of a lot of I've noticed this on my own vehicles when I changed brands recently. The current set I have on my vehicle is a different brand than I've been running for the last 6-7 years. And these new tires are every bit as good traction-wise as the old ones were, as far as mud and snow and rock and all that kind of thing. But the tires definitely ride smoother. The vehicle rides smoother with these new tires. So that can be a big factor. And I know the OEMs, they've gone back and forth. There was a period of time where they were putting the cheapest crap tires on cars. I mean, it was bad. They were acceptable, but barely. But I see more and more cars now, they'll put premium rubber on it. An exception to this is like BMW, which always puts insanely expensive tires on. That's where so much of their performance, handling and braking comes from, is they put really good tires on there. All right, strange little operation of this transmission. What do you call this thing? It looks like someone stuck a cell phone in there. That's confusing to me. Here's a question for you. What is my favorite thing about Hyundais and Kias? Well, they have a whole lot of excellent attributes, no question about it. And they're not only have excellent attributes, I feel like they're getting better all the time. They're getting more refined, and they still give you a lot for your money. They're very affordable, very competitive from a pricing standpoint. Let me put it that way. But what's my favorite feature? Well, I'll tell you what. Put on the audio system. Wait a minute, hang on. Let's see now. So again, I ask, what is my favorite feature on Kias and Hyundais? Right here. Right here. The sounds of nature. Yes. Yes. I know you know that's my favorite thing. And you know what they've done on this 2024 Hyundai Kona Limited? They've expanded your choices. It used to be like Lively Forest, which is still my favorite, by the way, and a few other little choices, but now we have Experience the Universe, Rainy Day, Moment of Meditation. Then we have Harbangers of Spring. Harbangers. I like that. And Autumn Sentiments and Warmth in Winter. Oh, it's cold outside. Warmth in Winter. What do we hear? Well, I'm not real sure what I'm hearing. Sounds like something's rattling, like you have one of those little space heaters that's got a rattle in it. That's boring to me. How about Harbangers of Spring? That's very... Ooh! You know, there's nothing that beats a good harbanger. That's what I say. Ah, yes. Yes. It makes the driving all that more pleasant. Although this car does have an excellent sound system, and I do listen to the radio quite a bit. But this is different. This is magical. This makes you just want to stop the car and take off your shoes and run across the grassy field, which you freeze your feet off right now. What's the current temperature? Current temperature is oh wow, 53. Well, you can absolutely do that up here. Oh my gosh, it's 53. This is February. It's not even Valentine's Day yet, and there we are. 53 degrees. Maybe it's the power of the sounds of nature, but I do fancy it. I do fancy it. Now, interesting thing about this, I'm going to be doing a lot of comparing to the old Kona, because this is a big change. And it doesn't have the same feeling in terms of wheel at every corner, kind of like mini handling feeling to it. This feels like it definitely has a wide track, probably a wider track than the older car. Previous generation, I should say. But it does definitely have good handling, but it also has a real good high degree of stability. It's a very stable chassis. And if I encounter, I don't know what the weather's going to do the next few days. If I get some real stiff crosswinds, I'll be interested, because that was one thing I seem to remember about both the Kona and the Kia Soul, was in really strong winds that were coming directly from the side, euphemistically called a side wind. It would push the car around a little. It was never a problem, but definitely more of a pushing around sensation that you get with, say, a sedan or something like that. And that's something that is everything that's a big box has to deal with. Naturally, the bigger the heavier box, like something like a Suburban. I haven't driven a Suburban in a while, and I don't remember the last time what it was like in crosswinds. But crosswinds are important. If you do a lot of traveling on the highway cross country, it can be a thing that you need to be aware of. It's another fun thing to test as far as the steering. If you have the car set up on self-steering, just glides over this bumpy corner situation really nicely. It seems to, I would say it's on a tick of 1 to 10, where ride quality is a, let's say a 6 on the old Kona. I would give it a 7 on this car. I'll tell you something that is really improved, in my opinion, is the transmission is terrific.
It shifts very. Automatic transmissions, a conventional kind. This isn't a CVT or a dual clutch or any of those things, but just conventional automatic transmissions have gotten so good in terms of how smoothly they are at shifting. And that's also helped quite a bit in terms of gas mileage. And what are we getting according to this? According to this, we're getting 29.3. And I've only driven at 39 miles roughly. That's very good. And it has the turbo, you can definitely feel that it's a turbocharged engine because it does have a little bit of peakiness to it, but it's certainly not bad. And when you have this low end torque, I believe it starts at 1500 RPM, where your torque peak is, your torque plateau, if you will, up to 3500, I think, 4000, something like that. It's Dandarooski when it comes to just general acceleration, especially from a stop and out of corners. It just does great. There's not a hell of a lot of body lean either. And again, this is not an overly sporty version. I do have it set, what do I have it set at right now? I have it set on normal, I think, or comfort. Yeah, I had it set on normal. I'll put it on sport. Let's see what sport does to our, that does anything to ride quality. I don't know how much it changes on this car. Whenever you put any of these cars that have multi-modes into the sport mode, there's one thing you can be guaranteed that will change a little bit, and that is if it has an automatic, and most cars do these days, it will change the shifting so that it shifts, it tends to hold a gear longer up to higher RPMs for better acceleration. And then it also tends to be more snickety-snick in the shifting department. Whereas if you had it on the comfort setting like I did, it's much smoother and quiet. The RPMs stay down more because acceleration is not a priority, but smoothness is.
Let's get down with the Kona. Underneath this beautiful chassis. Wait a minute, no, that's not right. The chassis is underneath the beautiful body. That's what I'm trying to say. But what we have in our Kona structure is pretty common to all crossover SUV types, which you have your unibody construction, that the body itself is one unit. And then you have subframes right here, this guy right here, that we mount our suspension on. Now what do we have? We have a multi-link rear suspension, just like pretty much everybody's doing nowadays. This being a beautiful all-wheel drive version, we have our rear drive shaft. Let me see here. I got to get the instrument, and the instrument's been acting up. I hope it works. Well, there we go. But there, oops, sorry. There is our drive shaft right there. And the front link on this, it's hard to see these links a lot of the time on these vehicles. But isn't that interesting? What the Kona has is we got this aluminum caster device right here that's holding the wheel. And then that, it's got this big link. Wait. There we go. There's our link right there to the front. It is in front of the, it's a whole different kind of structure than a lot of these things because the links themselves are a lot more solid in how they're mounted. For example, there's our mounting point right there, and it swings down here, and that locates the front of the wheel right there. So what do we have underneath? We have this guy right here, which is your main seat, whereas we have our coil spring, we have our shockling right there, and then what else do we have?
Well, that's the main, what you're seeing here is the main structure of it, because we got the one on top up there, and then we got this one down here. All bolted together to this big subframe array. And the result is a very smooth ride and very good handling. And it also has a degree of articulation to it that's actually surprisingly good for such a small little SUV like this. So you do have a degree of off-road capability, and it looks pretty substantial back here too, so it can take a little bit of punishment. But if you look forward, we'll see here's where our fuel tank is, somewhere in there. And we got this polymer, plastic, whatever it is, protection for it, which looks like it's fairly substantial. But look, we got one over here too. That's actually where the fuel tank is, right there. This side is just matching. All designed more than anything else to make the undercarriage more aerodynamic to get the mileage up when you're on the highway. That's what that is all for. The structure itself, you have a fairly, there's your exhaust, of course. Here's our rear differential. And there, let's get over here. There is our drive shaft that goes up in there. Doesn't exactly look like an F-250 drive shaft. It looks fairly modest, but I'm sure it's stout enough, because this is, unless I miss my guess, the H-Track Hyundai system is primarily a front-wheel drive system, but the rear system kicks in when needed. Now, as I look over to the left, you can see this front link right here much better, and it's like this huge, kind of reminds me of a twin I-beam Ford front suspension. But it isn't. But here's where you can see this this lower link right here that's actually in the front. Then you have the rear one where the coil spring is, and this locates the wheel fore and aft. And there's our, wait, hang on, and there's our drive shaft right there. So you can see, it's like all multi-link rear suspensions. There's a lot of parts to it, a lot of bushings, a lot of things like that will eventually someday, if you put like ridiculous numbers of miles on this car, you're going to have to replace some of this, because the rear suspension is going to get loose. However, that's way down the road, and in the meantime, you're going to get a nice isolated ride, and it seems to do a very good job. Like I say, it's good. It's all good. Now what is this here? This actually looks like the fuel tank here. Wait a minute. Well, what's all underneath here? I don't know. I think that is the fuel tank. Well, look, there's a recycling thing. Well, that's good. That's helpful that you can recycle your fuel tank. Is that the fuel tank? Yeah, I think that is the fuel tank. Boy, I tell you, this Hyundai is confusing me with how they array everything. But it all makes sense. It's all pretty logical, actually. And this right here, this enormous solenoid right here, is what engages and disengages your rear drivetrain. So when all the computers and all the sensors, especially very critical in this is the wheel speed sensors, which are also used for your anti-lock brakes, they're giving traction information into the main computer, the CPU, and this is what tells the car when it needs to activate the rear suspension. Excuse me. Sorry, the rear drivetrain. The rear suspension is always active. Well, no, it's not actually an active. Boy, I'm just getting into a hole here. I'm underneath the car and I'm stuck now. But that's basically how all that operates, is it's just electrically driven and probably engages a solenoid that will engage the rear. This is probably, your drive shaft here is probably, I just like playing with this laser, I just do. Probably freewheeling most of the time, I would predict. But it doesn't actually engage the rear differential until this clutch is activated through here. So there you go. And that is, by the way, very common in these types of vehicles. They are primarily front-wheel drive vehicles with the supplemental rear drivetrain kicking in when it can help you in slippery conditions or in some acceleration conditions too. All right? So there we have Kona, deep down underneath.
Welly, welly, well. So there is our 2024 Kona Limited all-wheel drive for your pleasure. Very nice little car, and they didn't make the mistake that so many manufacturers do. They didn't take a good thing and make it worse. They made it a lot better. Your base price is $33,150, and with options we came to $34,695. A bargain. Actually, in this crazy world, it is. 26 miles per gallon is your overall mileage. I got about 29, strangely enough, so that was great. So anyway, we finally got some snow, and the car did very well. We got about 6 inches or so, and I never had any problems with it. The traction was quite sure. So there you go. Great little SUV, especially in the limited trim line, because it's got a lot of great stuff on it. Thanks for joining us. Be careful out there. We'll see you next time.
Do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube, you eat like the tube, you raise your children like the tube, you even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.